All right. Hi, everyone. It looks like we have some people coming in. Wonderful. All right. I'm just going to get set up here and we'll get started. I know a couple people are coming in. Right. Let me get the Q&A up. All right. So welcome. It is wonderful to have you all here this afternoon. My name is Lauren Grenice. I am the assistant director and a career coach within the College of the Liberal Arts here at Penn State within the Career Enrichment Network. If you haven't been to the Career Enrichment Network, I highly recommend. We are located in 101 Sparks Building. So please come and stop by. We have drop-ins every Wednesday, 1 to 4, and that is absolutely a resource that you as grad students can take whether you're going more towards academia or if you are pivoting to industry. So we do this webinar every year for you all, just because we know that there is a lot of pressure within academic circles, especially PhD students, even master's level, to continue on in academia when we know that a lot of people do want to pivot into industry, whatever that industry may be. And there are so many different industries that you can go into as liberal arts students getting your doctorate or your master's degree. So to kind of normalize that process, you are not alone. We are here. We're here to help. And today we're going to talk about the very practical knowledge of transforming that CV that you all have been working so hard on to a resume for industry, and making sure that you are coming across as authentic and you, as well as advocating for yourself in the best way. So you should leave with some strategy here as well. So just an overview real quick. We're going to talk about the purpose of a resume for industry roles and how to market your skills effectively for industry, what employers specifically are looking for. And then we're going to go step by step over what employers are looking for on a resume and each of those different resume components. Okay. All right. Okay, so one of the things that I just want to start with, and please feel free to pop this in the chat, is what is one skill from your experience in academia that you think stands out in industry? So feel free to pop that in the chat or in the Q&A. I would love to hear from you all, and I'll give you a minute or two to do that. So, one skill from your experience in academia that you think might stand out in industry. Quiet, which is okay. Okay, there we go. Thank you so much. So we have presentations and public speaking, project management, data analysis and cleaning. Excellent. Oh my gosh, all of those are fabulous. I think that especially, being able to lead, being able to critically think, to analyze data, and then present it in a digestible way is going to be so helpful for you all going into industry. And that's just a few examples. So we know that employers are looking for particular skill sets when they are hiring, whether it's entry level or beyond entry level jobs, which you all will qualify for based on your experiences in academia. Every single year, the National Association of Colleges and Employers puts out a survey to employers all across the employers all across the United States, asking them what they want in potential employees. And this is what we've gotten back this past year. So this is United States centric, but we know that there has been a really big shift in recruitment from like a major title or the title of your degree, more towards like skill set, and how you are connecting the skills that you have gained in your experiences or in your experiences, but also in the classroom to the job description, which we're going to talk about in a second. So a couple of the ones that I want to highlight here, employers are really looking for problem solving, the ability to work in a team, the ability to communicate well, to be adaptable and flexible and innovative and take initiative. Um, they're looking for leadership and organizational ability. They're also looking for, you to be a nice person. I'm sure that if anybody here has ever, worked in like a part-time job or even like in a lab or something that where you are really working with other people, it can really make or break your experience if you have a coworker who is really easy to work with, or a coworker who is not so easy to work with and who isn't friendly, because you spend like a lot of time with them. So thinking about these different types of skills and keywords are going to be essential as you think about tailoring each and every application to the jobs that you're applying for. Now, I know that that sounds tedious. It is. It's tedious. It's annoying. Going through the full-time job search is a full-time job within itself, honestly. You want to make sure that you're tailoring your applications to each and every job, though. Think quality over quantity, because employers like to, think that they're special. They want to know that that you are applying to that job in particular, and that you would never ever think of applying to a different job, whether or not that is true. So, making sure that you're utilizing these keywords is important in that sense, to convince them and to advocate for yourself that yes, I want this particular job, within your resume and your cover letter materials. Okay. So knowing this, we can think about some of the different skills that you all have gotten during your master's and your doctoral level education, both inside a classroom and just your learning, your ability to analyze, your ability to take the knowledge that you've learned in the classroom and apply it outside of those classroom experiences. And this can take shape in a lot of different ways. This can be through research, it can be through conference presentations, or maybe journal publications that you've done. If you've done any graduate assistantships, whether that be teaching or like teaching undergraduate level courses, or whether that be more service based. Like, for instance, I know a lot of the PhD students in my counseling program, they were counselors, and doing about 20 hours a week of counseling at CAPS or career services as a GA. Maybe you've had internships over different summers or throughout the year. Maybe you've gone abroad, and had those different types of experiences. Thinking about adaptability, service work, so volunteerism, and then student organizational or professional organizational leadership. So think about GPSA or any of the other graduate school opportunities that you've been able to get involved with. All of these different experiences lend themselves really, really well to building a strong resume, and articulating those skills that employers are looking for, on those marketing materials in your applications. Okay. So I like to think about this, and you might be asking yourself, all right, like, I know I have all of these experiences, Lauren. I get it, blah blah blah. But I don't know exactly what to put on my resume. Like, I have so many experiences. Maybe you have 3 or 4 pages of experiences, and you're not sure how to narrow it down. The biggest thing that I recommend for graduate students in particular, and honestly any student, is to have a master resume where you literally have every single experience that you have ever had listed on this master resume with your bullet points and all descriptions of the experiences, etc. That way, when you apply to a job, you can pick and choose from that master resume, and pull it over for that resume that is going to be tailored to the specific job that you're applying for. The more jobs that you apply for that are similar, the easier it's going to be and the quicker those applications are going to be. But I also like to think about uh, a job description like a recipe. And this is the first of many corny analogies that you'll hear in the next like half hour, 45 minutes from me. But if you think about what is presented to you, like if you're on Indeed or Disney Line Careers or a another type of job site where you're looking up different jobs that you might want to apply for. In the job description, they are going to have a description of the skills, the knowledge, the abilities, the qualifications, what you would be doing on that job. When you're making a cake, you are collectively and collecting the different ingredients from your pantry to make that cake. So you might need flour or sugar or salt or eggs. Same thing goes when you're applying for a job. You want to collect all of the different ingredients, all of the different skills and knowledge, abilities, and qualifications from that master resume and put it into a cover letter, a resume, a reference, or a reference sheet, in order to say, look, like I have the exact ingredients that you are looking for. I am going to be able to succeed within this position. I am going to be able to make my job cake very, very well. And if you don't have all of the skills and knowledge, abilities, and qualifications, that's okay too. We always say that if you are meeting about 60 to 70% of the job description, apply. Let them take you out of the running. Don't take yourself out of the running, okay? But even so, like if you're looking at this job description and you're like, all right, like I have like 60% of what they're looking for, but the other 40% I don't have, or maybe you have something that's very similar. Think about those similar experiences as ingredient substitutions. And I know again, this is like super corny analogy, but it'll stick with you, I promise. Like I was baking something the other day and I ran out of flour, so I was using cornstarch as an ingredient substitute. Same thing goes with the job description. If you don't have exactly what they're looking for or the exact experience that they're looking for, making a case for yourself to say, all right, like these are the skills that are transferable that are still going to allow me to learn exactly what I need to succeed within this role. Okay. It can also be really helpful if you have a specific job in mind to look at the job description, again, like a recipe, and understand, all right, what are the employer ingredients? What are they looking for? What are my ingredients? And what ingredients am I missing? Because the ingredients that you are missing, that is an indication of, oh, well, maybe I need to go out and get this experience or learn this particular skill set in order to be better qualified for the job that I'm applying for. Okay. So I know that that was a lot of just kind of like thinking about, okay, who you are, what you're bringing to the table, but this is really relevant again as you're applying to different jobs because you want to make sure that you are, positioning yourself as well as possible to advocate for yourself. And you're the only person who can do that within your job search, right? It is also important. So one, you're, taking all of your skills, experiences, etc., putting that on your resume in a cover letter and saying, all right, this is what I'm bringing to the table. These are how my experiences align with yours. But also, this is very specifically why I want to apply to your company or your role and using keywords in that job description to match the keywords in your resume. And we also do this because of applicant tracking systems. So, applicant tracking systems, or ATS, abbreviated, is basically AI that reviews your resume and screens resumes and cover letters before they get to a human being. They are pulling keywords, they're looking for grammar mistakes, they're looking for the style of your resume to make sure that their applicant tracking system compatible. And we know that about 95% of applicant resumes within industry are screened by ATS. There are some companies that don't do ATS. Like for instance, I know Penn State is one of them. If you're looking to work in higher education, many of them won't screen by ATS, but they will they'll have a person or the hiring committee review it. Another really good example that I like to use is Highmark Health or Allegheny Health Network. If you're out looking out in the Pittsburgh area, they apparently review every single resume by hand that comes through them. But the reason is that a lot of different companies do this is because of efficiency and time. That's really all it comes down to. We know that, for instance, Microsoft and Google each week receive an average of 50 to 70,000 resumes. It would take a person a very, very long time to review those things, or review all of those. So they use the applicant tracking systems to speed up that process, which means it's even more important to put the keywords that are in the job description into your resume. And again, that's something that we can help with. That the career coaches in our office can help with, but that you can also use AI to help out with as well. Like once you have a finalized resume, copy and paste the job description and your resume without your name into Copilot or ChatGPT or whatever, and ask it to, revise your resume to make sure that it has keywords in it. And that's to make it a little bit easier and faster to do. Okay. All right. So applicant tracking systems, like I said, they screen resumes. They also do things like completing background checks or one-way interviews through, applications like HireVue is a really common one where you're basically just talking into a camera without any type of facial and nonverbal feedback and recording yourself. But we're not here to talk about interviews today. We're going to talk about more of the resume side of things. So when it comes to the resume, especially like if you're applying for jobs within the United States, so it is going to look a little bit different depending on the country that you're applying for, which as a complete side note, Going Global is a resource that you can access through Nittany Lion Careers, and that's nittanyLionCareers.psu.edu. Every single one of you already have an account. You can go to the resource page in Nittany Lion Careers, and they have country guides through this resource called Going Global, and it'll give you sample resumes for different countries, which can be really helpful if you're applying to a country where you're not familiar or you're not from. Which again can be helpful. But in general, within the United States, or general rules of thumb, you don't want to use tables, you don't want to use text boxes, no pictures or templates or graphics. You don't want to download a resume from Canva or buy one off of Etsy. Please don't buy a resume. We have templates that we can give you for free. You want to make sure that you're using a consistent font. And a good way to check this is to copy your resume. Like if you have a resume, save it into a PDF document and then copy it and paste it into a different Word document. And that'll show you how the applicant tracking system is reading it. And so like if any like kind of weird symbols or characters come up that are not easy to read, that's an indication that the applicant tracking system is not able to read it. And if it can't read it, it's going to throw it in the trash, which is another reason why, again, like where we'll have a lot of students come to us and say, all right, I've applied to hundreds of different jobs. I'm not getting any bites. Why? And we find out that they're not tailoring their resume. That's why, is because the applicant tracking systems aren't getting enough of the keywords that they're looking for there, or the resume is not formatted correctly, where it's not going through the applicant tracking system and moving on to a human being. So again, I could talk I actually am. I'm doing an entire another presentation this evening for a student group on campus about AI in the job search. And I could talk about this for a long time, but I want to make sure that we are talking about the actual components of the resume to help you out. So I will say that the template that we use for liberal arts students is available on our website, and I'll make sure to put that in the chat before we leave today. But that is applicant tracking system compatible. So like if you use our template, it should pass by ATS, which is a good thing. Okay, so coming into the resume, definition and purpose. So basically, the resume is that employers first look at who you are as a professional. It's your first impression. It demonstrates your ability to complete the job you're applying for, and if it does its job well, it gets you the interview so you can interact face to face and say like, look, this is how awesome I am. Please, hire me because I'll be just as awesome if I'm working for your company. There are differences between a CV and a resume. So CV, or a Vita or a curriculum vita, is typically very academically focused, is really comprehensive. I know that I've looked at some of the professors at Penn State, their CVs, and they can go on for like 50 or more pages, especially if they have tenure, which is amazing. And it really emphasizes research, publications, and teaching. So like very academically focused, as it should be, because that's what higher education academia is looking for. Whereas a resume is going to be much more industry focused. It is going to be concise. It's going to be tailored. So you're taking from that big master resume and pulling those specific experiences, the ones that are most related to the job that you are applying for, highlighting those skills, the impact that you had within your experience, and different accomplishments. So a couple of different feature differences from a CV to a resume. CVs are pretty much unlimited. A resume is going to be 1 to 2 pages long. Even if you're applying for a job in the federal government, the limit now is 2 pages of a resume. I would say that for you all, like with further degrees, 2 pages for a resume is just fine. You can have a 2-page resume, no problem, okay? The purpose of a CV is to get, academic jobs, grants, fellowships, postdoc opportunities. Whereas the resume, the purpose of it is to get those industries, jobs, and applied work. The content of a CV that we already kind of talked about is on research, on teaching, on service experiences, where the resume is much more skill-based and outcome-oriented, talking about those accomplishments and how you contributed to the organization within your role. And then the tone. So CV is going to be much more comprehensive, much more detailed, whereas again, the resume is much more concise and action-oriented. So some of the different components of a strong resume, and we're going to go through each of these one by one, is we're starting with your contact information up at the top, your objective or a professional summary, which is an optional section next. Then you're going to have your education, your skills, and then a bunch of additional sections that could be optional. And remember, this might look different depending on the job that you're applying for. So some of these different additional sections could be certification, it could be licensure, volunteer work and service, any professional associations that are relevant, or publications or activities or honors or awards, different things like that, okay? So first, let's start again, very basic. At the top of the resume is your contact information. So name is nice and big and bold at the top of your resume. It's going to be between, I would say, a 16 to 20 point font, depending on how you're trying to save space. You can put a location on your resume or an address on your resume. I would only put 1, not 2, just because you don't want to confuse the employer, especially if you're applying for federal positions. Just put one address on your resume. This can also, putting your location on or your address on your resume can also be really helpful if you're applying to a position in the city or location that you're currently residing, or maybe you have, I don't know, a permanent address back home with your parents or something like that, and maybe you're from the Philly area and you want to put Philadelphia, PA on there because you're trying to relocate to Philly. That's great to do because employers will see that, like, for instance, Philadelphia address and say, okay, like, we don't have to pay for their relocation if they're already living here. And that's something that you can negotiate later. But you also want to have a phone number, 1 email address. You can use your Penn State email or you can use a professional Gmail account. Just as an FYI, if you're coming up on graduation in May, for instance, your Penn State email will expire 3 months after graduation. So just be aware of that as you're approaching to graduation. And then you can see here, Miss Anita Job has her LinkedIn link as well. Both her email and her LinkedIn are both clickable, which is important because for every application, you're going to you are going to send in, it's going to be in PDF format. So that should be clickable. Recommend PDF just because it won't mess up the content, and it also makes it a lot easier on the back end for HR professionals to download your resume in a PDF format versus Microsoft Word or something similar. Okay. Um, okay, but like I said, location is also optional. It can be helpful if you're trying to relocate or applying to a position within that area that you reside, but if not, you can just take it off. It doesn't matter as much, especially if you're in a remote position. Okay. All right, so we have our contact information up at the top. The next section is going to be your objective or your professional summary. This is an optional piece of your resume. So the objective is typically a strong, short statement that includes different skills, qualifications, and strengths, all related to the job that you are applying for. Remember, it's going to be tailored, okay? So an example would be to obtain a full-time position in public service with the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania in the field of educational policy and research. So again, short, sweet, to the point. You're looking for a full-time job. You're looking for it within public service at the state level in educational policy and research. Like maybe you're applying to the Pennsylvania Department of Education or something. A professional summary is a little bit longer. It is more so a brief summary of skills, experiences, and goals as they relate to specific job openings. So, for instance, this one says detail-oriented doctorate student at the Pennsylvania State University studying Spanish with experience in translation, language acquisition, and app development. Praise for the ability to connect with international community members through translation services at the local level, award-winning teaching and communication skills. So this person might be going for some type of translation or language-based job or teaching position based on their summary. Remember, this is going to be tailored for every single position that you apply for. This again is an optional section. So like say that you have so many things on your resume that you're like, oh my gosh, all of this is so relevant to what I'm applying for or what I'm going for. You don't have to put an objective or a professional summary on your resume. It's not necessary. Like I would rather see you have all of your different experiences really flushed out through those bullet points versus taking up space with an objective or a professional summary. Now, if for instance, you have a wide variety of experiences. A professional summary or an objective can give a little bit more direction for the recruiter that's going to be reviewing your resume, which can be very helpful. It can also be helpful if you're going to like a career fair or something, especially if you're looking at jobs at a larger organization where they're hiring for multiple different types of departments, because this can indicate to the recruiter, oh, okay, that's right. Lauren was applying for our public service government consulting positions. She's not looking to become an accountant or something similar. Okay. But again, totally optional. All right. I should have said at the beginning, please, if you have any questions as we're going through, please submit them through the Q&A or the chat. I am more than happy to stop and answer, or if it's going to come up in the PowerPoint a little bit later, I'll let you know and we'll get to it. But please ask questions. I'm here to help, okay? All right. So we have our contact information up at the top. Then we have our optional section of an objective or a professional summary. The next section on the resume is going to be your education section. This is because, especially if you're looking at entry-level roles in industry, you are most likely going to be that basic qualification is going to be the education that you have accumulated. They want like a bachelor's, a master's, a doctorate degree. And so to exhibit that you have that formalized academic experiences and have earned your degrees, it can be really, really helpful. After about 10 years in the workforce, that education section can move to the bottom of your resume, but I wouldn't move it before then, okay? So a couple of pieces underneath the education section, and I'm going to show you exactly how this looks on the next slide. But you can put here your school, the location, the degree, your expected graduation date. GPA can be helpful, especially for large organizations that do filter by GPA. We know that only about 37% of organizations or companies are going to screen by GPA. And obviously, I mean, you all are in doc programs and master's level programs, your GPAs are probably fine. So put your GPA on there if you want, but you also don't have to. It's kind of up to you. Relevant courses can be helpful as well, especially if you've taken a class that is, directly connected to a skill that they're looking for, or knowledge or theoretical knowledge, or expertise. And then you can also put study abroad experience under here as well. So this is just an example of what education section can look like with someone who is currently in a PhD program. So it looks like they started off as a Bachelor of Arts in Economics student with a minor in Spanish, graduating in May 2021, then moved to Rutgers to get their master's. They have their thesis title on here. They graduated in May 2023, and they're currently a PhD student in econ. They have a graduate minor. Something that they could also put here as well, is if you have a dissertation title, or if you've defended your dissertation, that could be something that you put underneath here as well, just to give a little bit of context, because that's a huge accomplishment. It's a lifetime achievement, and you should be really, really proud of that. But you can see here how the university titles, or the names of the universities, are bolded. It's the organization or the university that you attended, the location of that university, your role, so the degree that you have gotten or are getting, your expected date of graduation. If this changes, just change it. But just with the knowledge that you have at the time, just make sure that just put what you know. And again, if it changes, it changes. And then any other information that you could put under here: graduate minor, again, GPA, like at this point in your education, given that you are all master's or PhD students, it doesn't matter as much. But there are some organizations that will look at that GPA, especially coming right out of school. So that would be a personal choice on your part. A lot of times, and this normally comes from undergraduate students, but I'll just say this because I think that it can be really helpful, is when to take high school experiences off of your resume. So I would say, like, in all of your, because you're in your master's or doctorate levels of education, high school can come off of your resume, unless, of course, there's an exception. Like, say you're applying to be, I don't know, a superintendent at the high school or in the school district you graduated from. Like, that then becomes more relevant because you're an alum of that school, right? Or that district. But otherwise it can come off. Things like if you were an Eagle Scout, or have the Girl Scout Gold Award, or were valedictorian of your class, those can be under an honors or awards section. It doesn't need to be under an education section. Obviously, the only one that applies to education is valedictorian. But those are more like lifetime achievement awards. And that can go under like an honors and awards section at the bottom of your resume. Okay. All right. So I'm going to pause for just a second, take a sip of water. If anyone has any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. Okay. I'm not seeing any questions come in. That is okay. We will keep going. So just to kind of recap, right? We have your contact information up at the top. Then you have your optional objective or summary statement. And then the next part of your resume is going to be your education section. And then we have experiences. So And I just did see, I don't want to ignore, I did have a question come through the chat, which is fabulous. I will get to that in a little bit. So thank you for asking. Um, but I want to talk a little bit about experiences first. So, some of the different experiences that are valued by employers include things like internships, research, leadership, volunteer work, non-related work experience. So maybe you're a lifeguard over the summer, or like I'm a yoga instructor downtown. Like that's a work experience that might not be at like directly related to your field, but that you can still, that still is valued by employers. Campus or community involvement, like leadership experiences, those different types of things. You want to showcase all of these different types of things, okay? So, of all these different types of experiences. So the way that we do this, and this is going to be different for every single job that you apply for, is to group relevant experiences underneath different headings, right? So remember, you have your master resume with literally everything that you've ever done on it. And you're going to pull those relevant experiences and put them under headings that make sense for the job that you're applying to. Remember, using the job description as a recipe. So if they're looking for you to have leadership roles, maybe have a leadership experience section on your resume. Or if they're looking for you to have research experience as a section on your resume. Other types of experiences that you can list include, or like headings that you can list include related experience, internship experience, professional experience, relevant project experience, research experience, community service experience, work experience. Like I know that, for instance, when I was in school, and I only have my master's degree, but when I was applying for jobs, like I had teaching experience. Like I was teaching first year seminar classes and a couple other classes. And because I was applying for jobs within higher education through like academic advising or those different types of things, I had a teaching experience section on my resume. I also had counseling experience because I was applying for advising positions, and that one-on-one work was really important. So like thinking about, okay, like what is in the job description? What are they asking for? And how can I group my experiences together to put the most relevant at the top, and then order those different headings in a way that that go from most relevant to like lesser relevance. By doing this, it makes the resume a little bit more digestible. So your experiences, like an employer is going to look at your resume probably for only about 6 to 8 seconds. They're going to scan through your resume really quickly, and and then from that scanning, they're going to say, okay, yes, I want to look into this in more detail, or nope, this is going in the no pile. So by putting those experience section headings, using those keywords for the heading headers, can be really helpful to say like, no, like my experiences align with what you are looking for. Okay. So a couple of other things that you want to make sure. So I kind of already talked about this. Each experience section heading should be related to the position. We like thinking of your CV as that master resume, and then tailoring those experiences. Okay, so underneath each experience that you list, you want to make sure that you have bullet points. There are going to be 2 to 5 bullet points under each experience section describing the skill you gained or a skill you exhibited within that role, providing a little bit of context to that skill, and then what the outcome of an action was. And that is what equals an effective experience section. And I know that this is a very broad concept, so I'm going to break this down a little bit for you all. Like within an example. But real quick before we get to that, I just want to go over some of the different details of a bullet points. So you want to make sure that you have about 2 to 5 bullet points per experience. You want to quantify your experiences, so adding numbers if you can. So for instance, like, did you do presentations for 3 students or 300 students? It makes a difference. qualifying your experiences as well. So connecting your skills and achievements to a job description can be really helpful. So for instance, like if they are looking for someone who is really detail oriented and analytical, using the words detail oriented and analytical and what those skills helped you achieve on the job is going to make an effective experience section. Okay. You also want to make sure that you're using action verbs. So every bullet point should have an action verb that starts it. It should be started with an action verb. It allows the employer to scan your resume very quickly and efficiently. Using those action verbs as keywords within the job description is really helpful. Okay. If it is a present experience, your bullet points should be in present tense. If it is a past experience, they should be in past tense. Okay. All right. So this is just an example. So say that you are really interested in going into policy work, and for a while in undergrad, you thought you were going to go into law, and then decided, nope, I'm going to go and get my master's in MPP or like master's in public policy or get my doctorate within public policy instead. But you know that your legal work as a legal intern at a law firm is relevant, so you're going to put this on your resume. So say when you were a legal intern at the law firm, you're like, well, all I did was just like file documents for them. Well, okay, like that's great, but like thinking about this with, okay, what are the skills that you gain from filing the documents besides knowing your ABCs of filing in alphabetical order? And like, what are the skills you gained? Can you add numbers to this? And what was the outcome? So this is just an example of saying, okay, manage a filing system for 55,000 confidential records, increasing their software efficiency by 10%. So you're elaborating and you're expanding on these bullet points as much as possible without going over 2 lines. So you want to keep it to 1 to 2 lines per bullet point. Okay. All right. So a couple of action verbs just as an example. So you can look this up online. We have an action word list on our website that I'll give you towards the end. But these are just a couple, listing things like you collaborated, communicated, designed, assisted, devised, utilized, partnered, organized, generated, implemented, using those strong action verbs. And again, making sure that you're connecting them to the keywords that are listed in the job description. The other thing that you can do is we know that employers are using AI, so why don't you use AI too? You can use ChatGPT, or I know the university recommends Copilot of, putting in, I am applying for a position. Well, again, I'll keep going along the policy realm of things. I'm applying for a position within the Department of Education through the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania as an educational specialist. Can you please rewrite my bullet points for my experience as a as an instructor for a first year seminar class to be more geared toward this job description. So being as specific as possible. And oh my gosh, McKenna, thank you so much. It looks like you put in the chat a link to the Muse, an article in the Muse that it just lists 185 powerful action verbs that will make your resume awesome. These are great. I love that. So thank you so much for sharing. That's awesome. Okay. So, again, just as an example, before and after through an academic CV, maybe you taught an undergraduate sociology course. But for an industry resume, you want to be, again, concise, tailored, and direct. So developed and delivered engaging sociology curricula to 30 plus students, enhancing analytical skills and fostering critical discussion. So again, what skills did you use? Giving context to those skills, and then the outcome for each bullet point. Okay. All right. This is just another example. And again, you can see the format is very, very similar to what the education format looked like. So we have someone here who was an HR intern. They might be going into human resources. They have the name of the organization, the location, you have your role as an intern, the dates, and then you have the 2 to 5 bullet points talking about what specifically you did while you were there. Okay, so I want to come back to we had a question in the chat from Brooke, so thank you for asking this. So how do we navigate looking for a job while still in PhD programs? Do most people or most employers want folks to start immediately? Is there an unspoken norm in industries that they'll wait for candidates to graduate? If not, should someone wait until they graduate to apply for a job? This is a really great question about timelines for jobs. So it's going to depend on industry. Larger industries, so like if you think about Fortune 500 companies that have like a mass budget for a full HR department, like PNC, for instance, just as an example on the screen, they're going to be recruiting like as early as the fall, like September for a May start. There are, and I know we are obviously liberal arts here, but like there are engineering firms that recruit over a year out. So it's going to be very dependent on industry. If you're looking to go into more Fortune 500 companies, you and say you're graduating this May, you can start now. Or maybe you're graduating next May or planning to graduate next May. And so you could start next September if you wanted to with the career fair. Now, smaller institutions are going to be a little bit different. So nonprofits, like especially if they're not national nonprofits, but they're like small, like local nonprofits or even statewide, they're going to hire on more of an ad hoc basis because they just don't have the infrastructure to support like that length of time of hiring, right? Where they can hold a position. I would say that like I'm seeing a lot of students who are interested in nonprofit federal work and like NGOs or those different types of things, or industries, even higher education. Um, like if you're graduating in May, even starting now. But I would say that on average, it does take about 6 to 8 months from the time that you start applying and looking for positions to get a job within your field. And that's about an average. It's going to, oh, congratulations, you're graduating in May. I love it. Yes. So you can absolutely start your search now. And that's something again that we can help you with. Depending on the industry that you are looking for, we'll definitely help you out with that, of course. Okay, so hopefully that answered your question, Brooke, and hopefully that helped a lot with others as well, because I know that that's a really common question. All right. I know that I'm at the end of my time here, but I do want to finish up with just a couple of other components. If you have to leave, I am recording this so I can send this out to you afterwards, so you can get the content. But so I want to just touch on the other sections of the resume very quickly. So remember, we have our contact information up at the top. You have your optional objective professional summary. You have your education section. You have all of the different experience headings that you're going to have. And then towards the bottom, typically, you're going to have other sections, which could include skills. So skill sections can be computer skills, language skills, additional hard skills. Soft skills should be embedded in the context of your bullet points. So things like problem solving, leadership, organization, interpersonal skills, like those are important, but they need context. Like if I say that I'm an organized person, like you can take me at my word for it, sure, but if I give you context of like how I managed an organizational system of 55,000 files, like that's going to be a little bit more, I'll say, persuasive, versus just listing a skill, versus like computer and language skills can just be taken at face value. Okay. Other additional sections that you can have on here could be certifications and licensure. So, like for instance, while I work in higher education, I'm trained as a counselor, and I have my counseling license in the state of Pennsylvania. So that goes on my resume under certifications and licensure. I'm also a registered yoga instructor and certified to teach yoga, so that can go under there as well. Any other certifications and licensure, maybe like really anything that you can think of within your field of interest can be really helpful. You can also put volunteer work and service, professional associations that are relevant to your field that you're applying for, different publications, activities that you were in, honors and awards, those different types of things. All of those are additional sections that you can put on your resume, again, as long as it is relevant to the industry that you are applying for and the job description. Remember, thinking of your CV as your master resume and then picking and choosing depending on the job that you are applying. Okay. All right. We kind of already reviewed this, but just to go over again real quick, the margin should be about 1/2 inch to 1 inch. Your font size is going to be a 10 to 12, and your page length is going to be 1 to 2 pages. You all can err on the side of 2 pages given that you are grad students. So one of the things that we offer here is the liberal arts resume format or the resume template. I'm going to send you in the chat. It should go to everyone. This is our resources page. If you look at the box towards the right-hand side, it says in this section, you can click on resume and cover letter, and it'll give you cover letter examples, templates. And we have a CV example as well. So like if you are, for instance, like applying to jobs in academia too, you can take a look at that CV example. We have some resume examples, and then all the way at the bottom, we have our resume template, which you can use within Google Docs or a Word doc. And hang on, just because I'm just going to share my screen real quick, just so you're looking at what I'm looking at, because I think that that could be helpful. Okay, and share. All right. So again, this is the website that I just put into the chat, our resources. Again, if you click on resume and cover letters here, you can find our action word lists, cover letter samples and templates. You have a CV example, a couple of other resume examples. And then again, if we open up the general resume template, I'm just going to do it in the Google Doc format. You can save this to your own Google account. You can download it in Microsoft Word. I know we all have Word from being at Penn State, and you can see just how this is formatted. You would basically take anything highlighted in red as well as just the general information and make that your own. And again, 2 pages is just fine for you all. Okay. All right. So I am going to reshare my PowerPoint real quick just to wrap up. Okay. Good. Okay. Bunch of different resources to go here. Again, like for those who are participating or who are in this session, I will send out this PowerPoint as well, so you have these. To make an appointment with us, you would go to nittanylinecareers.psu.edu, and I can actually type that in the chat as well. Right. So you have that. You would be There's 3 career coaches that you can meet with: myself, Katie Wysocki, who is our director, and Danielle Liddick, who works specifically with human resources students and students within that program, the HRER program. But any student can meet with myself or Katie. We've been doing this for a while. So all right. And I also have my contact information. But otherwise, I know I went a couple minutes over, but if anybody has any questions, please feel free. I'll put my email address in the chat as well. So please feel free to reach out. I'm more than happy to help you. If it's a resume review, I'll probably refer you to make an appointment with me through Nittany Lion Careers. just because it's easier for my own calendar management and time management. But I'm more than happy to send you instructions on how to do that through email or answer any other questions that you might have. Our office in particular, we have drop-in hours on Wednesdays from 1 to 4 where you can stop in and talk to somebody or make an appointment with us. We're more than happy to help. All right, so I'm going to stop my share and I'm also going to stop the recording.